8.
Good evening and welcome back to the Coach's Corner, your home for information and inspiration about the sport we love most. I'm your host, Phil Pompey, and tonight's segment is on footwear. Our shoes are the one real piece of equipment that a runner needs to be successful. Tonight I'm going to go into the basics of picking out the right training shoe, the benefits of racing in a specialty pair of flats or spikes, and offer my perspective about some of the recent trends in running shoes. So what's so special about running shoes, and why are they so expensive? Well, rest assured, running shoes are specially designed to handle the daily pounding that you put them through. So even though they are more expensive than your average athletic shoe, it's worth the investment for the sake of your short-term health and long-term development. This is why coaches always encourage their new athletes to purchase their first pair of running shoes from a specialty running store, rather than any old sporting goods store, or worst of all, ordering something online. You see, each of us has a slightly different stride, so it's important that you get your gait analyzed by a specialist who can recommend an appropriate shoe based on your needs. They might put you on a fancy treadmill or just watch you walk down the street for a few paces. But what they're looking for is how your foot naturally strikes the ground as you walk or run. Most of us naturally pronate when we run, meaning we land on the outside of our foot and roll inward. Others supinate, meaning you strike the ground first with the inner part of your foot and roll outward. Different shoes are built for different foot strikes. The size and shape of your foot will also play a factor in finding the right shoe, and of course, the type of training you're planning to do in that shoe. Most runners on our team wear a neutral shoe, like this Nike Pegasus, meaning they don't overpronate or supinate, so they don't need a shoe that compensates for their foot strike. A few of our athletes and this coach train in a stability shoe to counteract the slight overpronation of our foot plant. The extra foam under the arch in this Nike Structure Triax ensures that my foot and lower legs are supported over the course of a season. You may have heard of some runners using insoles or orthotics. It's a common solution when someone can't find the perfect training shoe, so instead they doctor up a pair that's close to ensure that they stay healthy. Whether it's Nike, Adidas, Brooks, Asics, Saucony, even Skechers, the main goal of any shoe company is to make money. With that said, the designs and color schemes are becoming flashier than ever to catch the attention of the consumer and give you the idea that buying their newest model will make you instantly faster. Not to mention, they come out with a new model every year, which immediately makes last year's model seem obsolete. I'll let you in on a little secret that I learned as a freshman in high school. The shoes don't make the runner. The runner makes the shoes. I showed up to my first high school cross-country practice in black and silver sleeveless compression shirt, black and silver Adidas soccer shorts, and a new pair of black and silver Nike cross trainers. I thought I was ready. Then one of the seniors came over to me, introduced himself, and said, "Are those what you've been training in all summer, Pompey? You should probably get some running shoes." I was so embarrassed, I dragged my mom to our local running store that evening and picked up some very dull-looking Brooks after undergoing a thorough gait analysis. Turns out, Coach Curley didn't care if my shoes matched my running getup when he pulled me up to varsity halfway through the season. So learn from my mistake and don't choose your next pair of running shoes based on how they look. Make sure they feel good when you're walking and running, or don't buy them. Remember, the shoes don't make the runner makes the shoe. So there's a little bit of info on finding the right training shoe. But what about racing? In California at the high school level, it is illegal to run a cross-country race with spikes on, even though that's the norm for most other states and at the collegiate and professional levels. Why? Well, many of the courses in the Golden State, including the state championship course, include large sections of concrete or hard-packed dirt that may as well be concrete, which would not feel great in a pair of spikes. So we race in cross-country flats. which are essentially spikes without the spikes. They're lightweight with minimal support and specially designed to get you a little bit further up on your toes so you feel smoother and more efficient at faster paces. Distance spikes for track are similar, but even lighter. They have little to no support, which makes them light as a feather, and a few well-positioned spikes on the ball of your foot, right where you should be striking the ground. Do these racing flats and spikes really make that much of a difference? Yes, they do. In these shoes, the same effort will save you at least a second per lap. And when all your competitors are wearing them, you certainly don't want to give them an edge. Because these specialty shoes are so much lighter with so much less support than a normal training shoe, they will wear out faster. Now, you're only going to be wearing them for races and select workouts, so you won't be putting much mileage on them, but you probably shouldn't stretch a pair of flats or spikes for more than 2 calendar years. Trainers, on the other hand, assuming you're running every day, should be replaced 3 or 4 times a year. If you're looking for a mileage total, it really depends on the shoe. Some people say 300 to 400 miles is a reasonable estimate. Others say 400 to 500. At St. Francis, we tell all our athletes to get a new pair for the summer, then another pair for the fall cross-country season, then replace those for the winter build-up, and get one final pair for the spring track season. That seems to be a pretty effective system for most of our athletes. College and pro runners who put in 100 or more miles a week will obviously burn through a pair of shoes much quicker than a high school freshman running 30 miles a week. No matter who you are, if your knees or shins are aching, your toe is popping out the side, or the tread is completely worn away, it's time for a new pair. Remember, this is the only piece of real equipment, so it's worth the investment. Let's finish this segment by talking about a few of the recent trends in distance running footwear that you may have heard about. First, the barefoot running movement that led to the minimalist running movement. A few years back, a book called Born to Run came out that essentially said humans are built to be long-distance runners. Our ancestors traveled around on foot and even practiced persistence hunting, which involved slow, steady runs over the course of an entire day sometimes. They didn't wear shoes, so why should we? Some advocates claim that the running shoe industry is actually preventing us from running as efficiently as we could without shoes, and have tricked us into buying their products to make money off of us.
So some people started running barefoot, or training in shoes with little to no support, called minimalist shoes. This trend was short-lived after many people got injured from stepping on rocks or glass, or their legs just breaking down from running with little to no support. Turns out most of our favorite running spots aren't ideal barefoot running locations. Don't get me wrong, there is some science that backs up the benefit of running barefoot, especially to perfect running mechanics, but this is usually done on perfectly groomed grass fields for short distances. I would not recommend barefoot running for any young runners. Okay, well, what about these Nike Vaporflies that Eliud Kipchoge wore to break 2 hours in the marathon? With an extra layer of foam and a carbon fiber plate, the first edition of the Vaporfly back in 2017, which started at $250, claimed to make runners 4% more efficient.
Meaning, with the same effort, a 6-minute mile in my old shoes is now a 5:46 in my new Vaporflies. In the last few years, all sorts of road racing records, mostly over half marathon and full marathon distances, have been broken. And major marathons have even lowered their entry standards to account for the new road racing shoe. We haven't seen similar improvements in track times, but it might just be a matter of time until Nike or a competitor figures out how to use the same technology in a track spike. So, is this the shoe every high school runner who can afford to should be training in? No. And for the same reason that we shouldn't be training in racing flats. These shoes are designed for fast running. If you want to try them out for workouts and races, go for it.
Some high school runners in California have already started using them as cross-country racing shoes. And some pros, like Gwen Jorgensen here in the headband, are even racing long-distance track races in Vaporflies rather than traditional track spikes. Here she is pictured at the 2018 Stanford Invite racing the 10K, which she ended up winning. But be forewarned, I wouldn't get too attached. Remember those Speedo laser racer suits about 10 years ago that got banned from international competition after 17 world records fell in a single championship meet? These shoes are receiving similar pushback from purists in the running community, accusing those who race in Vaporflies of technical doping, using technology to earn an unfair advantage. It's possible that rule changes could come into effect if the technology continues to improve and leads to more and more record-breaking performances. Of course, no shoes are magic. You still have to do the work. Kipchoge and others may be gaining a slight advantage, but 4:36 pace for 26.2 miles in any shoe is quite a feat, if you ask me.
I'd love to hear other thoughts or questions on the topic of footwear, so please post your comments below. Thanks for tuning into the Coach's Corner this evening. Our next segment will be on race tactics. That's all for now. I'm Phil Pompey, signing off.